In my last video, I talked about how the biggest trap isn't consuming too much, it's creating too little. When we live our lives in such a way that we never stop consuming, we're never actually creating any space for our ideas to emerge. These gaps where we can let our brain wander and our brains can come up with something original or truly novel. Most of us never get time for those gaps to really emerge. We go from podcast to article to video to conversation, and we're mentally exhausted but can never really point to anything that all this activity and exhaustion resulted in, right? I like how Tiago Forte puts it. Our brain is for having ideas, not holding them. When we clog up our brains with consuming content and videos and ideas, we're stunting the ability for our minds to critically think. We're taking up space for our mind to use for valuable cognition, right? For me, I found that unexpressed ideas start to become sort of inflammation in my life. It limits earning potential, your ability to connect with others, your fulfillment. So when you don't have a place for your ideas to go, they become clutter. They become loops that never close. And those open loops will start to drain your energy. So before I give you some brain dumping protocols you can use, I want to talk about why this is an easier practice than many other creative practices. So brain dumping works as well as it does because it removes two of the biggest obstacles to creativity: judgment and perfection. Right? I think of brain dumping like when I was a kid, when I would turn on the water. We had iron water in my house. And when you would turn on the tap, at first it'd be like really rusty and dirty. But over time, when you would let the water run, it would start to clear. And this is a lot like what brain dumping is. You're not trying to write something brilliant. You're not trying to come up with something genius. You're just turning on the tap and letting whatever is in there come out. And research shows that journaling like this, processing things like this, putting thoughts from out of your head and onto your paper literally lowers cortisol levels. It helps your brain release emotions instead of ruminating on them. Right? This is why you might feel like you've been stuck on a project or an experience or an idea that you've had for years but never really made progress on. It's because it's been trapped in the ambiguity of your mind. And expressing yourself isn't the only win of brain dumping. To me, the real magic is in closing loops. When you have an open loop in your mind, an unfinished thought, an idea you haven't captured, a problem you haven't processed, or something that's constantly running in the background, it's draining mental energy. And brain dumping allows you to get it out, release it. And what you'll find is suddenly you have energy again. It's not that the activity itself was exhausting you, it was the thinking about it, the intellectualizing that was exhausting you and keeping those loops open. Writing it down brings it into reality and out of your imagination. And that brain dumping, it can be adaptable. You can do it however it works for your brain and close those loops. I've used many approaches over the years, right? The first is classic free writing, or in this example that I'll get to is morning pages. And free writing is just the process of writing with really no rules or restrictions. It's allowing yourself to write and get out whatever you need to get out. And it's something that I used for a long time, but I've added more structure in over time. And this began when I started turning these sessions into what's commonly called morning pages. And this is Julia Cameron's method. It's 3 pages of longhand writing, first thing in the morning, stream of consciousness, no editing, just straight brain dump. And this kind of resembles more of what I was doing as a preteen when I was journaling. And for me, it's the most rewarding. I've written in all kinds of journals, repurposed books, bullet journals, right? I got a brand new journal that I've been making my own that was a gift from someone. And so, I won this at a baby shower, so it was great. But the main thing is that a pen and a notepad is good enough, right? A notes app on your phone or an old journal or repurposed book is good enough. There's no wrong way to do these. Sometimes I write poetry. Sometimes I write affirmations. I write about what's going on that day, what I want to work on, right? And another one that seems to really be working for me lately is voice transcriptions. This is kind of my go-to, especially with my phone, right? Most of us have our phone on us during the day. And so when I'm driving or on a walk, sometimes I do this inside of Claude, or I will do it in voice memos and copy and paste it into Obsidian, where I'll just talk all of the ideas out in my head, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for 30. And the advantage of this is that this, just talking into your phone, is lower friction even than writing. Your ideas come out in the speed of speech instead of at your hand, right? Another one that works well, that seems to work well for me for certain kind of ways of thinking. This one's more rare, is time sessions. This is where you set a timer. I usually do 10 minutes and I write without stopping. And if you get stuck, I usually write, "I'm stuck," until something new comes. And the way that I like to do this is when I'm thinking about a specific topic or synthesizing some knowledge that I've learned. There's a powerful exercise where if you want to learn an idea, you can try and compress it. Write that idea in 200 to 500 words, then write it in 100, then write it in 50, right? This form of brain dumping forces you to find the essence of an idea, or the material can start to get resolved. An idea will start to be very clear to you, and it can start to make sense, and you can express it more clearly. The last and most common one that I've been using most frequently now is what's called a done list, or a daily log. And this is done by keeping a notebook just like this, or an app where you sort of log what happens throughout the day. And this becomes both a brain dump and a record of your life. And it's my favorite form of brain dump right now. And it's something that I do directly in Obsidian. I use a note directly with the date, right? So you can see on this list that I use Obsidian, and I named them just with the date and brain dump. And over time, these notes become sort of like my own Wikipedia. And this is an example here on 1029 where I was using a voice transcription, right? So you can see it's just a big wall of text, right? Versus this was a daily log, right? It was my aunt's birthday today. My mom and my sister went and did this. My roommate came home with a migraine, right? So just kind of like different approaches. But you can see throughout the month that I brain dumped almost every single day. And this has drastically changed my life. When I started this practice, it wasn't just to create content or to be productive. It was just to have a record of my life, to prove that I was still moving towards something. But something unexpected happened. Around month 3, I started noticing that I was complaining about the same things repeatedly. I would have the same breakthrough insights that I'd forgotten I'd already had. But because I was documenting it, I was starting to see it. And the awareness was starting to break those patterns. And brain dumping became my most honest mirror. It started to show me where I was stuck, where I was lying to myself, where I was repeating the same mistakes. But it showed me growth that I couldn't see in the moment. You know, I'd go back and read entries from months ago and realize like, oh shit, like I'm not stuck in that same place anymore. I did make progress. I just couldn't feel it day to day. You know, in every single piece of content I've created, every newsletter, every video, anything that I've made, it's all started as a brain dump. It isn't just therapy, it's the raw material for everything you create. You have to get the ideas out somehow. You know, the world that we live in isn't designed for this type of behavior. We're constantly bombarded with things to consume to the point that we forget it's an option to create, right? When you brain dump, you're squeezing the sponge that is your mind, and you're making room for new ideas. You're getting the old out so that you can actually absorb something new. This is why people who write about what they learn can retain it easier. It's not just about reviewing the information, it's about releasing it, processing it, squeezing that information out in your own words. So here's what I want you to do. If you've made it this far, I want you to set a timer for 5 minutes. You can do it on your phone or wherever. Grab whatever is nearby you, a book, a notepad, an envelope, and just dump. What's on your mind? What's bothering you? What idea won't leave you alone? What blog do you want to start? What business idea do you have? What did you consume today that's been making you think? Don't edit it. Don't judge it. Don't try to make it good. Just squeeze. Just flex that creative muscle. Right? If 5 minutes feels like too much or 10, just write one thing down, one idea, one observation, one thought that you don't want to lose. Right? I think the first thing that I wrote in this journal was a poem. It was a poem that I wanted to remember, right? A Kipling poem. And oh, actually, no, it was just a note about my friend John. John and I talked today and it was nice. That's it. You know, journaling, writing things down, it makes you a better thinker. You'll start to notice patterns. You'll catch yourself in spirals. You'll remember what happens. And over time, you'll build a habit, an incredible habit of creativity. You'll have an archive of your mind. You'll know what things in your life that have persisted and the ideas that matter to you. You'll move away from the idea of more ideas, more consumption, more videos, more this, and you'll learn to create and learn to make things. This lack of creating and this lack of expressing is hurting us. Right? It won't always be glamorous. It won't always make you go viral, or it won't always be fun. Nobody's going to applaud your morning pages or your journal, but it can change everything. It will change your life, because when you release what's inside of your mind, you start to make room for something new. When you start to turn off consumption and turn off creation and turn on creation, you start to realize that you don't have to just be a consumer of other people's ideas. You realize that you have something that's worth sharing, and you can start to express those things. And over time, you'll start to feel more confident. You'll start to feel more excited. You'll start to be more articulate. You'll start to feel like the ideas that you're having make sense, and that they have a place and a home, and that there is an environment, whether that's your journal or a note-taking app like Obsidian, or, you know, a notepad or whatever. You'll start to feel like you have a safe place to think and express yourself and create things. And it will affect your life in every area you can imagine. That I guarantee. So give it a try. Try giving yourself a 5-minute brain dump, or just a few lines of brain dumping this week if you can, and just see what happens. What do you have to lose? It might be more fun than you expect. So I hope that if you do try this practice, that you really do get something out of it. And let me know in the comments if you have been trying this and what it's doing for you. A lot of the people in the community and the people on the email list that reach out to me to let me know that this practice has helped them, like, it just means so much to me. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one.